Cornerstone family. Pastor Mervin asked me to say just a few words about our memory verse, Galatians 2:20. This chapter 2 of Galatians, Paul is writing a letter to the Galatians, telling them about this great controversy that was in the early church. It was faith versus the law. Peter and Paul didn't agree on the subject. When Peter was in Antioch, he would eat with the Gentiles, but as soon as some of the Jewish believers showed up, he stopped eating with the Gentiles to adhere to the law. And this caused Paul to have some problems with Peter. He openly asked Peter a question. Peter, if you being a Jew live like the Gentiles sometimes, then why do you compel Gentiles to live like Jews? It was a reasonable question. In verse 16, Paul claims we are justified by faith only, not by the law. Well, the Jewish brothers in Jerusalem had to solve this controversy, and they did side with Paul, saying we are justified by faith. Our memory verse, Galatians 2:20, begins with, I have been crucified with Christ. Now, Paul wasn't meaning he was physically dead. He meant he was dead to sin, he was dead to worldly influences, and he was dead to the law. It continued to say, it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Because he was dead and he no longer lived did not mean he was inactive. But because Christ was in him, the grace of God was in him, the power of God was in him, he was actually more active and more zealous than before he met Christ. Verse 20 continues to say, the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God. He was saying it's faith in Jesus that gives you this new and living way, this new life, this new covenant. Verse 20 continues to say, who loved me and gave himself for me. Paul understood the great love sacrifice Jesus suffered. And his faith and his relationship with Jesus hinged on this great love that Jesus had for him. Verse 21, the next verse, is kind of like the conclusion to the whole controversy. It says, if righteousness comes from observing the law, then Jesus died for nothing. Paul had a point there. If we are righteous through the law, if the law could do the job, Jesus would have never had to come. But the law couldn't do it. Jesus was the fulfillment of the law. Aren't you glad Paul cleared up this controversy? Can you imagine if someone came to Christ and you had to tell him, well, the next step, you got to get baptized, you got to get circumcised, and oh yeah, there's 613 laws of Moses you've got to learn and observe. That would be devastating. But no, it's just about loving Jesus. The law is actually bondage, and liberty comes through faith. It's our human nature to just want to fall into a ritual or a routine and observe the same thing over and over. Go to church on Sunday, maybe hit a life group midweek, have communion the first Sunday of the month. It's comforting to know you're fulfilling what you're supposed to do, but that doesn't mean your heart's right with God. It doesn't mean you're in relationship with Jesus. During this time of coronavirus stay-at-home order, I think God is calling his church to examine themselves, examine their priorities, examine their relationship with him. And a good way to examine your relationship with God is, are you talking to him? Are you listening to him? You know, no relationship can survive without communication. So look at your prayer life. Is your prayer life where it should be? Are you talking to God daily? Are you listening for His voice? Use this time of slowing down and stopping to reset your relationship with the Lord. Reset your prayer life. Take this as a new beginning. I love each and every one of you. I can't wait till we can get together in church again. God bless.